Hello and welcome to Flipped IGCSE Biology, Unit B9, Inheritance, Lesson 3, Variation and Mutation. Before we start this lesson, it's important that you know or remember what a species is. A species is a group of organisms that can interbreed to produce fertile offspring. If you think of a mule, for example, remember a mule is a mix between a horse and a donkey. The mule, however, is not fertile, and this proves that a horse and a donkey are different species. So, variation then. Have a look at this nice old picture from 1904, which shows the variation within humans with all the different races. You can pause the video here and think about all the differences you can see. So, variation is, very simply, the differences between individuals in a group. Variation can be within organisms of the same species, for example humans, as we have here. Now, there are two types of variation. The first one is continuous variation. So continuous variation can be measured, for example with a ruler or with a balance. There is a range of values between two extremes. Continuous variation has intermediate values, so for example numbers after decimal place, and it is caused by genetics and the environment. For example, height in humans. Discontinuous variation is a little bit different because there are distinct groups or phenotypes. There are no intermediate values. Organisms have to fall within one of the groups. Discontinuous variation is caused by genes alone. For example, A, B, and O blood groups in humans. Here's an example of a graph you may see with continuous variation. This one here is about finger length. You can see that the kind of average finger length has the highest frequency, and the numbers trail off to the sides. This is what's called a normal distribution, which you might have studied in maths. Continuous variation would be plotted in a graph like this, a histogram where the bars are touching, and the line can be drawn to show the normal distribution. Here's an example of discontinuous variation of my Year 11 students. The example I chose was earlobe type. So was the earlobe attached or detached? As you can see, the students fell into either the attached or the detached column. There is no in-between value there. It can't be a little bit attached. And this is because it is decided by genes. So let's look at a few examples here. Have a think for each one. Is it continuous or discontinuous? Here we go. Weight or mass. Continuous. Arm span. Continuous. You can measure it. Cat fur colour. Discontinuous. It's either black, orange, stripy, white. Tulip flower colour. Discontinuous once again. Distinct groups. Red, yellow, orange. Pine tree height. Classic example of continuous variation. You would measure the height of the tree. There are in-between values. It could be 7.34 meters high, or it could be 8.91 meters high. And hair colour. Discontinuous. You'd either be born with black, brown, blonde, or ginger hair. There may be slight variations from this, but essentially people fall into one of those groups. Mutations. This photo is really cool here. It shows a mutation of a tulip. This is a real photo, it's not photoshopped at all. So a mutation is a permanent change in the structure of the DNA of an organism. A mutation could be a change in a gene, so a section of the DNA, or it could be a change in chromosome number. For example, Down syndrome, where the person has an extra chromosome 21. Mutations occur naturally, and that is why there is variation. Without mutations, we would still be bacteria floating around in the primordial sludge. It's because of changes in the DNA of organisms that evolution has happened. Mutations can occur in gamete production, and this is passed on to the offspring. So if a sperm is produced, for example, with the wrong number of chromosomes, then this could be passed on if that sperm fertilizes the egg. So, the rate of mutation can be increased by ionizing radiation. You will learn a bit more about this in physics, but essentially, UV radiation, X-rays, and atomic radiation, which is gamma rays, can cause changes in the DNA of an organism. This explains why UV radiation causes skin cancer, why people have to be very careful with X-rays. You are limited the number of X-rays you have per year, for example, and pregnant women are advised not to have X-rays to prevent deformations due to mutations in the DNA of their baby. And obviously, the most extreme example is atomic radiation that comes from a nuclear explosion, for example. And the vast majority of mutations are actually harmless, and you don't even know maybe that you have it. But some of them can cause cells to divide uncontrollably and form a tumour, for example, cancer. And here's a